we are back, and arguably badder than ever. The music is way down. How's the rest of the audio? I'm learning about 1 year per thing, but hopefully the audio is better. I can only hope. Let's find out. Oh, it sounds fantastic. That means it is good to invite guests. Back chaw. Okay. I believe I believe we were discussing a suggestion by Pinkerbell. Uh, remove all embeds, please. There we are. We were discussing a suggestion by Pinkerbell regarding the Charlie Kirk shooting. I do believe this is an area uh, that's worth exploring. And here's why. See, whoopsie doodles. Let's do that. So much better. This is why I was telling you, Pink. I just had to log off and log back on. I know you wanted me to stick around and see if closing those tabs did it, but I just had to go with my gut. It's fun to take credit for things when your friends are not on microphone to defend themselves. Uh, you sound marvelous, darling. Well, thank you, Groove Dragon. Looks like I won't have to side with a bad perm. Ooh, I'm wondering who you are talking about. Let me tell you, I was writing about Charlie Kirk earlier. I sometimes jot down notes when I'm not sure quite what I'm going to say yet, and I just want to get my own thoughts straight. And I was thinking about what Matt said when he said that whatever this is that we do, let's call it political commentators for the sake of ease, but amateurish political commentators for the most part. He asks people, are we like journalists? Are we journalists? And most people answer correctly, no, we are not journalists. We have a lot of the same aesthetics as journalists, but we are not journalists. However, I have always been a believer in the idea that we have some of the same responsibilities as journalists, and we do have similarities to journalists. For example, when a big news event happens, we are motivated to talk about it. It's within our industry to discuss a big news event. That is, after all, what we commentate on. That's the kind of commentator we're talking about. When something happens in our given field, in this case, it's politics. When a political commentator sees that a big event has happened, it's their job to talk about it. And because it is their job to talk about it, it is also their responsibility to be responsible in talking about it. Surrounding Charlie Kirk's death, it's at least far enough away from it now that we can reflect at least on the initial reactions. And I think the initial reactions of all sides were very telling. And I think we should not let this moment pass without thinking critically, because so many moments like it have happened before. And we've done the same old, same old. and we've dropped them eventually for the next thing. But we have to have this conversation, or we'll be back in this moment again after another senseless act of violence. Ask yourself, who was a good commentator? What would a good commentator do? I think you can pretty safely divide it in terms of people who were willing to exploit Charlie Kirk's death and people who were not. I did not see, I'm not saying it didn't exist, but I did not see anybody on the left exploiting Charlie Kirk's death. Even the people who I thought they were irresponsible in talking about it, I didn't see them exploiting it. I would measure exploitation in terms of, do they are they using the event to try to create more events that they can cover? Are they, for example, being performative in a coffee shop, trying to ruffle people's feathers intentionally so that they can get a video of those feathers ruffled? I would say that's somebody trying to exploit the death. Did they claim to know who did it before we could possibly have known who did it? Or more accurately, did they claim to know who did it before they knew who did it? Did they claim to know the motivations of the person? Did they try to get you to attack any particular group of people when we could not have known who did it? Those are people who were exploiting Charlie Kirk's death. Here's something I'm not sure how I feel about. Uh, I'm not sure if we should have mentioned more his final words, because I think they were very telling. On the other hand, I'm proud of us. Whether it was the right thing to do or not, I'm proud of us for resisting the urge to do it, because the only reason to do that was out of decency. Again, it might not have been the right decision. The decent thing is not always the correct thing to do. But it certainly wasn't satisfying to hold my tongue as long as I did. Uh, and I'm sure it wasn't for a bunch of other people too. But the crucial thing is he died trying to blame gun violence and mass shootings on gangs. He was literally talking about the issue that killed him when he was killed. And he was literally contributing to the conditions that resulted in his death. Those are just facts. I do have judgments, but I'm not passing them here. I'm saying that so that you understand what the context was, because I assume not all of you saw the moment, nor should you seek it out. But the reality is, Kirk was the exact sort of person who would shamelessly exploit Kirk's death. He was. And the folks that followed his career are aware of that. Now, the folks who are loudest about defending Kirk either are being dishonest about who he was, or more commonly encountered, hadn't heard about him one bit until he died. And only after did they jump on a cultural trend of pretending to mourn. Only after. Not unlike how they talk about leftists. They let somebody else inform their opinion of who this person was, and then they've allowed those people to convince them that they have strong demands regarding these people who they've only been told about. They have strong demands regarding Charlie Kirk. Never watched one of his videos. Certainly never sat down for the full live stream. But they have strong demands based on what the left was saying. The left was calling him a fascist. Yes, that was his political ideology. If you think it's so bad to be fascist, I would only say, I agree. His last word was violence. Now, I thought his last word was gangs. I thought his very last sentence was, "What about gangs?" Maybe it was, "What about gang violence?" Let's look it up. Now's a great time to learn. Counting. Oh, you're right. It was violence. His last words were counting or not counting gang violence when talking about mass shootings. Yeah, there it is. Groove Dragon. He was being asked about how many trans people had been involved in a mass shooting in the past 10 years. Kirk said too many in a rote response. Then he was asked how many mass shootings there had been in the past 10 years, and Kirk responded, uh, counting or not counting gang violence. Yeah. In other words, he was pointing out minorities that you could pick on rather than dealing with the problem that killed him. Now, I won't claim to be a friend of this guy. I won't claim uh, to have ever wished him well. I certainly did not wish harm upon him. But that's sort of the point. We don't wish harm on anybody on this side. In fact, the very issue that caused his demise is one we were actively trying to stop from happening and have been. And he spent his career making sure we failed to stop from happening. He ran cover for the NRA, a lobbying organization which has bought many an election, including elections of Democrats. We never, ever excluded right wingers from the groups of people who would be protected by the laws we propose. Let's look at what Leah Miller has to say. The fatality rate is nuts. The left has killed 0. The right has killed hundreds, says the Mike's Dead show. Yeah, as far as I know. I know that this is going to be measured differently by right wingers. They will look not at how many violent acts were done in the name of a progressive cause, in which case the answer is going to be 0. But they will also look at they will only look at, was the person who did the thing left or right, and there's a crucial difference. For the most part, I just can't. I have trouble imagining a progressive doing an act of violence in the name of progressive values, because though violence is inherently not a progressive value. It's one thing to say in the defense of others, but achieving political change through violence is fundamentally counter to what a progressive is trying to accomplish. It's a bit like saying the libertarian organization has a strong central leadership. You know, it's just it's contrary to the nature. But let's see what good old Leah Miller has to say. Because when my audience recommends something, it tends to be the sort of thing that I will also enjoy. There we go.
At an event at Utah Valley University last Wednesday. I doubt this is the first time you're hearing of this news, but this is the first piece of hashtag content that I've created about it, unlike literally every other news commentator alive. So thank you for your patience as I have processed everything over the weekend. I have a lot of thoughts that I don't think I can fit in one video. The pressure to be someone who comments on the news 24/7 is very high in this line of work, but I would...
No, I have not, but that's worth looking at.
actually be completely miserable if I had to make new content about every headline as it comes out. And I like to think that the value I add here is some measured and thoughtful commentary, not breaking news as soon as it happens. So today we're discussing what's happened since the shooting, especially the apparent motives of the shooter and what this means going forward. Kirk was in Orem, Utah for a speaking engagement at Utah Valley.
I just want to comment ever so quickly on responsible broadcasting. If you met anybody or saw anybody spreading conspiracy theories already about this, that, or the other thing, they are probably not worth watching, at least for breaking news. Because even if they're good intentioned, they don't have the wherewithal, the wisdom needed to listen to in serious times. They run their mouths because they think they are supposed to have an answer, not because they have an answer. If you've seen anybody who said a bullet can't do that, you can disregard anything they have to say because they know they don't know. And they are trying to come off as though they know. Bullets act very strangely. The police are allowed to give us wrong information, and they sometimes do as as needed to solve crimes. For example, if they said we have no leads regarding who this serial mailbox thief is, but actually they know the thief wears a specific brand of Nike shoes. They might do that so that the shoes aren't thrown out. The person keeps wearing them, etc., etc. My point is, anybody who is a commentator who's claiming to know such things is lying to you. And you should cease listening to them. At least don't listen to them in an emergency when you need your head clear and with only known facts, not assumed facts. And to all that, I say, Leah Miller, I congratulate you. Because, yeah, back and to the left. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on right now. Yeah, that's today. That happened today. Anyway, um, Leah Miller is, I would count, amongst the responsible broadcasters. Also, I didn't used to like Hassan Piker, but his recent coverage of the Kirk shooting, I decided, what the hell? I'll check in again, see how he is these days. Phenomenally responsible human being. Really, truly responsible. Now, I'm not saying there is no effery going on. There might be. I'm just saying that you should listen to how responsible your broadcasters are being. And it doesn't necessarily matter if they guessed right. Even if even if they guessed correctly, they were still guessing and claiming to know. And if you do that, you'll find you if you stop watching people like that, you will find you stop watching right wingers.
University as part of his organization, Turning Point USA's American Comeback Tour, during which he was planning on touring across college campuses, doing speaking events and debates. He was speaking at an open air event under a tent when a single bullet hit him in the neck. I'm so sorry to those of you who saw that video against your will. That's one of those things that you'll never unsee. Kirk was rushed away in a private vehicle by a security team and died a short while later. After the shooting, 2 different men were detained.
Man, I gotta. Ooh, I'm sorry, Leah.
As people.
I do have to say though, there is stuff that's what she's talking about is just sort of America 2025, man. There's stuff y'all have had to see just because it played in front of your eyes and nobody was prepared for it. Like to edit it out. That like I would have recommended a camera person go get some counseling over back in the day. Like you shouldn't see some certainly you shouldn't see somebody die, period. You certainly shouldn't see somebody die when you're not ready for it. That's going to change the way you view every political speech for the rest of your life. You got something in common now with the folks that were at Bobby Kennedy's speech. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry this whole generation has been brutalized in this manner. But hey, let's make sure our kids and our grandkids are not also. Life does not need to be this savage. But that does mean that we have to stop like acting like a bunch of savages, basically.
Of interest. Photos of the men began circulating online. The FBI and Utah's Public Safety Department issued a joint statement Wednesday night with the full names of both people, a move that is highly unusual. These men were people of interest that had only been detained, not officially arrested for the murder. And threats against these two people of interest began immediately because, of course, Kash Patel tweeted around 6 p.m. Wednesday night, because
Ugh.
we have to get all of our official information from fucking Twitter, that they had.
Yeah, pause for a moment. Oh, whoop, 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 whoop. Eh, 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 This is a good time to have a solid look at just about everyone in your life, at least everyone in your media ecosystem. So we covered already. Oh, pause for a second. Hey, this is all so this stream, yeah, is so we can uh, help a friend whose mother is going into hospice. This is the end for her, and I'm sorry. Uh, but let's make one thing she doesn't have to worry about in the end: fucking capitalism. Go help pay her end of life expenses. The link is in that QR code or in the description or in the pinned comment. Click it with your fingers, and then we will, you know, make the world slightly less horrific. Anyway, this is a great moment to assess your media consumption and purge. If you're ever starting to feel overwhelmed by the news, by politics, by just generally culture, fucking purge your social media accounts. Delete me out of your social media account if I'm bumming you out. And you know what? If you decide you want to see me again, it's not hard to find me. We're all big boys and girls. And if we're not, we ought to be. You should only be able to make money off this if you are an adult. But regardless, we can handle you taking a break from this stuff. Similarly, if we are not worthy of your subscription, fucking unsubscribe. If you saw one of us getting up here and running their mouth about, oh, I know a gun can't do this or won't do that, or a bullet is magic in this way, or it must be Israel, even though Israel already is getting everything it wants and could really only stand to lose by doing an insane thing like this. It must be them. Probably don't listen to that person anymore. Similarly, if your political party has a leader of the FBI that they put in place who decides to jeopardize the case before they even have the guy by posting about the case, boy, you probably do not need that political party in power anymore. Yeah, well, I mean, we don't know this. We really don't. Bongo Dave says gangs are not political. They shoot other gangs over territory. This is about political violence. Kirk's shooter wasn't a gangbanger. He was a groiper. Yeah, I no doubt. I mean that we were talking about it earlier. That is 100% true. Except for the groiper part, we actually don't know that. But it's 100% true that it's not about gangbangers. Yeah, this was yet another unwell person. I mean, definitionally, to do such a thing, you have to be unwell. It's not ever going to accomplish political change. You can search your own feelings. How would you suddenly change your political outlook if somebody who preached your outlook got shot? Hell no, you double down, of course. But we don't know that he was a groyper. Let's just state facts. We do not know. It's not your job to know, but I can't come up here and say with any certainty that he was. We don't have enough evidence. There is evidence to suggest he may have been. There's more evidence to suggest he was a groyper than there is to suggest he was anything else. But there's not much evidence altogether, truth be told. Also, are we going to say what happens if he was a groyper and then he fell in love with somebody who groypers would not have accepted, and he said the hell with them? Are we still going to say, well, he was a groyper before he did this thing? We're going to find out he was a human being and remains a human being, and they are full of contradictions. And in the end, apart from pointing out the hypocrisy of the right, it doesn't really change what we have to do, because what we have to do does not rely on knowing the political leanings of a mass shooter. What we have to do is simply to make it more difficult to access the sort of tools needed to pull off something like this, to walk around in public without being challenged when you have a gun slung over your shoulder. There's a lot of us living in a finite amount of space, and we have the ability to send a bullet literally farther than the eye can see. There are snipers which must account for the curvature of the earth that exist on this world of ours. So, we ought to have some regulations. Let's go back and to the left. Damn it, now I'm saying it. Yeah. Talking about how 6.3 million people, good lord. FBI Director Cash, at FBI Director Cash. That was an official update. There's so many things about this that just make it so clear who these people are. Here's a question. If you supported this guy, or the people that put this guy into office, do you think it's a good idea to get people used to seeing tweets from a rando account name like at FBI Director Cash that are actually from the director of the FBI? Do you think that's a good idea to train people to not be able to tell the difference between something fake and real? Because that looks fake as hell. And crucially, anybody could make an account like that. I could make an account that said at FBI Director Patel, and I could pay $12 a month to get a blue check mark. And then I could go around say, or whatever the fuck it is on Twitter, and then I could go around spreading misinformation. What could they do about it? They're training people to fall for that. It's crazy.
Apprehended the
tell me
shooter,
what's up.
and then he went to dinner at Rouse in New York City, a place notoriously difficult to get reservations for, so he couldn't miss that. Then at around 8 p.m., he tweeted, "Oh, actually, the person has been released." Meanwhile, Utah authorities said they had a person of interest in custody, but it wasn't clear if it was the same person that Patel was speaking about. It's almost as if the director of the FBI isn't qualified to do his job. Weird. Then Thursday evening, police arrested Tyler Robinson, 22, a native of St. George, Utah, in the southwest corner of the state, on charges of aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstruction of justice. As of right now, it appears that Robinson is refusing to cooperate or speak with authorities and has not confessed to the murder. Reports are coming out that Robinson's family is staunchly Republican and pro-Trump, and their cooperation, especially of his father, helped lead to his capture. One family...
I just got to clarify that laugh. I don't think they have collected one piece of evidence that wasn't specifically pointed out to them. Like there was the gun and the shell casing, and then the guy himself got turned in by his family. I don't think Director Patel knows how to run an investigation. He certainly doesn't know what it looks like when you're spoiling an investigation. But he certainly doesn't know how to run one.
Family member said Robinson had turned more political recently and hated Charlie Kirk. And Robinson's roommate, who has also been alleged to be his partner and has also been alleged to be trans, showed the police messages Robinson had allegedly sent, indicating that he had engraved the bullets and where to find the rifle he had allegedly used. Robinson is registered to vote in the state of Utah, but was unaffiliated with any political party and hasn't voted in the two most recent general elections that he was old enough to vote in. Photos of him on social media show him proudly holding guns. So this is a white man from bumfuck Utah with a MAGA family who posts pictures of himself holding guns. 4 of the shell casings had been engraved. The fired shell casing said, "Notices bulges, oh, whoa, what's this?" 3 unfired casings said, "Hey, fascist, catch upright, down, down, down," and "Oh, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow, Chow," and "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO. And yes, we are going to unpack what the fuck that all means. Often, the way news outlets report on a story differs depending on the bias of the publication, and it's hard to know how your own perception of bias influences your interpretation of the news. This headline from NBC News caught my eye. Charlie Kirk murder suspect linked to crime scene evidence through DNA match, FBI director says. Using the Ground News web browser extension, I can see that in the US, NBC News is considered left-leaning. To get a fuller picture of the story on all sides of the political spectrum, I can click on full coverage, which will show me coverage of the same story from publications across the political spectrum. My partner on today's video, Ground News, uses 3 independent monitoring organizations to assess the bias rating for each publication. Each news monitoring organization.
I mean, it happens to be that I think Ground News is actually a good service. So I'm not so annoyed. One thing about that I do think is worth pointing out is that in the scenario that it looks like all right, in one possible scenario, I was going to say in the scenario it looks like it could be, but that's too weird. One possible scenario is that this person was a right winger. After all, his whole family is claiming themselves to be MAGA supporters. So presumably, at one point in his life, he was a MAGA supporter, just if only by default. I'm not saying he still was. I'm just saying that's probably where he came from. Let's say that he's now against it. Suddenly he's dating a trans woman, and suddenly he's dating a trans woman. Oh boy! And he is confronted with the fact, oh, she's not a monster. Oh, she's just a human being. Oh, these people who my family is so casual about hating and blaming for things. These are just human beings, decent, normal, weak and strong human beings. What does he think opposition to his ideas is? What does he think the opposite of what he was is? I would argue, give me a moment. I would argue that it's possible this guy acted out because he didn't know what we are, and acted desperately because either he thought that's how you oppose this stuff, because he came to the understanding that this is fascism, but his understanding of how to fight fascism literally goes as far as video games. Or he simply thought we didn't have a good plan. I think we've got all right plans. I think we have better plans than effing shooting folks, certainly. So it was a failure on our part to make known to the general public what our plans are. What's our goal here? How are we going to go about doing the things we say we need to do? I think when he was looking at the world and the problems in it, he was acting on them according to the ways that right wingers are told you're supposed to solve problems. MAGA is told, you got to solve these problems. And he was too young to know that it's bullshit. He was too young to know that when a MAGA person says that homosexuals should be lynched or whatever, that same MAGA person is very likely gonna turn up on Grinder when you're looking for somebody offering BJ's to the neighborhood gentleman. Uh, he was too young to realize that. He was too young to realize that when somebody says the only answer for fascism is a brick through the window or a bullet through the head, uh, that person has never fired a gun in anger in their life. Certainly, never even shot an animal in hunting. Certainly, has never drawn blood intentionally in any way. And they don't have any sort of strategy in mind, any sort of follow-up to what happens after the violence. They haven't actually thought about it because they knew that they're not to be taken seriously, and they're trusting when they say these things that serious people won't take them seriously, so they don't have to really think about what they're saying as long as it's goofy enough. This person was too young to realize that. And I think, yeah, the answer in general still has to be gun control because guns are out of control. But also for us, we should consider how we come off and not in the way right wingers say we come off, but in the way we actually come off. Are we providing the general public with a sense that we have a plan for fixing all this? I don't think we are. I think we have the beginnings of that with Zoran Mamdani. I think we're going to have to ape the Republican strategy of starting at the local level and getting local politicians who are beloved by their towns. But when somebody gets desperate, I predicted this specific killing. Not okay. I take that back. I didn't predict Charlie Kirk's doom, but I did predict this specific set of circumstances earlier, and it wasn't a prediction so much as a statement of what was inevitable based on what we were seeing. I just am giving myself credit for the prediction because I need any sort of W I can get. But no, what I was talking about earlier, well before all this happened, I think at the turn of the year, was a right winger will wake up to the lies they are being told and their reaction to finding out that they are essentially in an uncomfortable matrix and that all their problems are not in fact caused by the Browns or the gays or the whatever the hells, but by the oligarchy, by the ultra rich effing us over like it always has been. And when they find that out, they will turn to violence because that's what they've been told is the thing you do. By the way, the reason they're told that's the thing you do is because the state would love for you not to be a real problem. A real problem is somebody who consistently votes the way they don't want you to vote. Somebody who campaigns for people who will put systematic change in place. A real problem is somebody that will harass a company by reporting their tax dodging or calling them out to the district attorney anytime they violate local laws. I mean, you need to be a real dedicated hater to be a problem. But if you engage in violence, all you are is an excuse for the people you hate to do the things you hate them to do. Back to Leah Miller here. Let's see what this gal's about.
their own methodology, including the media you're consuming operates. And thanks to all the features I've mentioned. Things should indicate to you how deeply and incredibly online Tyler Robinson or whoever did this engraving is, if he is the one who did these engravings, innocent until proven guilty, etc. And like, I
Damn it,
often
Sean.
joke that I'm chronically online because I share a meme or two on Instagram and watch a lot of TikToks, but the level of online that Tyler Robinson.
Why would you challenge me to this, Donald James X? Because I have to now. You understand? I have to.
And seems to be allegedly is another level, which is why there is so much confusion about what his motives might have been, just something the right is taking advantage of, because it's not as straightforward as he's a Democrat or a Republican. The thing with online culture, and especially meme culture, is that most memes have so many layers and layers of meaning to them. You can write them off if you want as just meaningless internet fluff, but the amount of subtext you have to understand to grasp a meme is very difficult to explain to someone who doesn't have the context, because having to explain it makes it lose some of its meaning, because memes are meant to be a funny wink and nod to the people who get it. It's meant to show membership of a group, even if it's broad or not a defined group on any chat forum anywhere. It could reference an obscure part of a cult classic TV show or a song lyric from an artist that only true fans would get the reference to, and so on and so on. You're not supposed to get a meme if you don't understand what it's referencing. And the engraving on the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk is a great example of this. Again, it reads, "Notices bulges, oh whoa, what's this?" The meme this is likely referencing was first posted on Imgur, an image hosting website, in June 2015. That meme was then shared by a user on Tumblr in July 2015. Tumblr is a website. Do you see how difficult it is to explain to like a boomer who's convinced Tyler Robinson is a leftist lunatic? There's so many layers. Please stick with me. Tumblr is a social media website that was very popular in the 2010s and has regained popularity with Gen Z, where people share writing and images and other people can comment and reshare the writing and images. And a lot of sub communities have grown as part of Tumblr. I mainly used it in high school and college to share aesthetic photos and corny quotes, but I remember it being particularly notorious for circling things like thin inspiration photos to motivate people to lose weight. Let's not go too far down that rabbit hole. Okay, so this is the meme that the engraving was likely referencing. If you're listening to the podcast version, it is two kind of gross looking, presumably male humans in a cut screen looking at their computers and typing, apparently in conversation with each other. One of the men has ears and the other has a paw print tattoo. Both are sweating profusely for some reason. The man with the ears says, "Hee hee, you're a cutie," flops beside you and nuzzles. And the second guy replies, "Aw," nuzzles you back and pounces on you and notices your bulge. Oh, whoa, what's this? I hate that I had to just read that out loud. The context that you need to understand is the online furry community and the subsequent mockery of said community. Furries are people who dress up like animals and identify as animals. You will often see them walking around town with a little tail hanging out of their pants. They have conventions. It's a whole thing. In online furry communities, the way they speak to each other tends to be overly cutesy and very cringy, and they use a lot of cutesy emoticons. An emoticon is like an emoji, a little face, but often using letters and numbers instead of like the little yellow icon you find on your iPhone keyboard. The number 3 and the letter W tend to mimic a mouth. An O is a wide open eye. A U is a calmly closed eye. An X is tightly closed eyes. You can see what I mean in this meme on the left where he says, "Hee hee, you're a cutie, X3." The X3 is an emoticon. The X is tightly closed eyes. The 3 is a coy little smile. OWO, OWO, is also an emoticon meant to show surprise, with the O's 2 large open eyes and the W a little surprised mouth. Oh, whoa. So they talk to each other in a way that is cutesy and cringe, and they will often do role playing. For as long as the internet has been around, if you want to indicate an action as opposed to actual spoken words in like a chat scenario, you put an asterisk on either side. So the meme says, asterisk flops beside you and nuzzles, asterisk. That is meant to be read as an action. Similarly, asterisk nuzzles you back and pounces on you and notices your bulge, asterisk, is all meant to denote an action. In this way, they can kind of simulate role playing in text form. And furries are apparently notorious for the sexually driven nature of some of their forums or the way that they speak to each other sometimes. So, oh, whoa, what's this? Indicates a surprise face and a question. What is this? This meme circulated, and "oh, whoa, what's this" became general internet speak that was typically used to make fun of the cutesy, cringy, often strange nature of the communication styles of online furry communities. It's just meant to be kind of dumb. So while you have to get a ton of context in order to understand the meme and the reference to it engraved on the shell casing with notices, bulges, oh, whoa, what's this? At the end of the day, there isn't deep meaning to it. It's all a shit post, a troll move. It's
I tried to do the color changer effect, and I gave up. I gave up. Uh, I just did it the old-fashioned way. But look, I'm so sorry, planet Earth. I'm so sorry that you have to know this stuff. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing this stuff. It just sucks that it's like if somebody was real into like denial porn and then they killed like a political candidate and inscribed denial porn things on the bullets, and now suddenly everybody has to be like, well, the chastity cage is actually used for. I'm just sorry you gotta know. But you're right, she's explaining it
just
well.
meant
Let
to
her
be
finish.
dumb. And that's the nature of a lot of memes. You have to know a lot of subtext to understand what amounts to kind of a dumb joke. The next casing read, "Hey fascist, catch," with an up arrow, a right arrow, and 3 down arrows next to it. To understand this, you'd need to be a member of a particular gaming subculture or at least generally familiar with gamer chat forums. The specific game in question is called Helldivers 2. It came out in February of last year and involves teams of people fighting off invading insect, alien, and robot armies. The trailer for the Helldivers 2 game is quite purposely meant to look like a US Army recruitment video.
Prove to yourself that you have the strength and the courage to be free. Join the Helldivers. Become part of an elite peacekeeping force.
The game
and
does
work
look like a lot of
together
fun.
to spread prosperity, liberty, and democracy.
And while it is delivered in a tongue-in-cheek manner, it's also earnestly meant to draw gamers into this idea that you are spreading democracy and peace by killing the fuck out of everything around you. In one game,
We, by the way, should make some new laws somewhere around here that prevents the military from advertising to children. There is way too much of movies, TV, advertisements that is just short of saying, "Hey kids, do you want to fire an assault rifle?" Sinister, dude.
gameplay video, you can hear a player yelling, "How do you like the taste of freedom?" as he's launching what appear to be bazookas. I don't know about weapons. How do you like the taste of freedom? In this game, if you're in the middle of a battle, you can call in backup or reinforcements. One way to do that is by hitting the up arrow on your game controller, followed by the right arrow, and then 3 down arrows. The down arrow 3 times. That will call in the Eagle 500 kg bomb, which deals a ton of damage to one small area. And within gaming communities, that series of arrows, up, right, down, 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 became a euphemism for dropping a bomb on something or destroying it. For example, in response to a post of a picture of a giant spider on the side of a house that says, "How would you react in this situation?" someone responded, "I would up, right, down, down, down." It's like a verb. So with that context, we can better understand the engraving on the shell casing that said, "Hey fascist, catch," up, right, down, down, down. It comes from a game which advocates for defending freedom through warfare, including using up, right, down, down, down to drop a bomb on your enemy. Now, I'm not interested in sitting here and saying that like video games cause very specific behaviors because of their violence. I think that's old school, weird, pearl clutching rhetoric. But given this context, I don't think we can say that the engraving, "Hey fascist," is necessarily because Robinson, if he did do this engraving, was left of Charlie Kirk and calling him a fascist because he's a liberal. This could perhaps better be understood as someone who played video games and became a member of a gaming community steeped in this pro-war, pro-America spreads democracy ideology, the kind where Hitler and Nazis are used as convenient go-to antagonists to advance a plot in a game. Or it could be genuine criticism of Kirk from a leftist perspective. We don't know, but I don't think it is given the other stuff I'm talking about today. This understanding of these two engravings gives us a better context to then look at the third engraving, which says, "Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao," which in Italian means goodbye beautiful, but is referencing lyrics from an Italian folk song that took on meaning as an anti-fascist song of resistance across the globe. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. The song also appears in the soundtrack to a video game called Far Cry 6, which takes place in a made-up country ruled by a dictator and is associated with a revolutionary rebel song against the tyrannical dictator who plays the main villain in the game. The song also appears in a recent recent Spanish TV show called Money Heist. It's first sung by two of the protagonists as they plan their money heist, which they interpret as, quote, an act of resistance against a system that has held them down, according to The Hollywood Reporter. It was a, quote, rallying cry for the show.
My personal favorite anti-fascist song is Non Regrette Rien by Edith Piaf. It was a French resistance song against the Nazis. And it made it into a D&D campaign wherein my goblin NPC had to, exit the plot. And I sent him out like a hero, loading a crossbow, holding off waves of D&D era fascists, saying, Non regrette rien. My point is, this stuff makes it into pop culture very easily, because up until just recently, it's basically from the 40s till now been understood the fascies are the baddies. We do happen to have actual real life genuine fascism creeping up, but that shouldn't change. That doesn't mean that people who are resistant to actual real life evil fascism are responsible for the design choices of video game creators who were frankly just looking for an easy bad guy. I have played Bella Ciao for over a year in bars. Yeah. There's a shooting multiplayer game which lets you fight for the South in the Civil War. Guess what kind of people play it? Look, I'm sure plenty of villains are doing revenge or whatever. They're living out a dark fantasy, I'm sure. But my point is, their world outlook should not be judged by the content of the game. You know what I mean? And I don't mean in terms of like, oh, they don't care for freedom. But I mean, you can't assume from watching that they think that muskets and bayonets are the way to achieve the things they want to achieve, because the game mechanics, I mean, most children who play games understand that the game mechanics do not apply to real life. And I mean the youngest of children. I don't know any children that genuinely thought you could jump on top of an enemy like Mario back in the day. Yeah, if you're Antifa, if you're anti-Antifa, you're fascist. Yeah, I want to take this moment just to be absolutely clear. I am Antifa, have always been, and for the most part, as far as I'm aware, all of you are as well, as were every one of your grandparents, and basically the whole world except Germany, Italy, and Japan in WW2. To be Antifa is to be a standard person. It's just to not be fa, which is fascist.
Was Merry Band of Thieves. A remix of the song called El Profesor Bella Ciao, Huge L Remix, appears on a Spotify playlist called Groiper Wars America First, which brings us to the final piece of the deeply online puzzle of context you need to know to try to decipher what this all means. What the fuck is a Groiper? And you guessed it, more internet lore backstory is necessary to understand this term. We start with Pepe the Frog. Pepe was a cartoon character in a comic series called
God.
Boys.
I do need to be clear. I don't really understand what. All right, I understand who Groypers are. It's the Nick Fuentes community of fans. I do understand that, and my understanding is that a higher percentage of them than, let's say, our average turn out to I don't want to say be closeted, but to be leading double lives, let's say, regarding their sexuality. I don't know that that's even really relevant though, but that's the extent of my understanding. They're fans of Nick Fuentes, a lot of traditional Catholic types in there, a lot of Catholic converts in there. And they're just, as I say that though, it could just be that we only find out about these affairs with like Destiny and what have you because it is a against what they say the world ought to be. So, of course, it's newsworthy to then report on it. Well, this person that said this thing is bad is doing the thing. Yeah, withdrawn. Anyway, that's how little I know about the Groypers. It's just they're fans of Nick Fuentes, and they tend to be very online types.
Club created in 2005. Pepe's face with the words "feels good, man" started circulating around 2008 on 4chan, an image sharing forum that is notorious for having harbored some of the most vile shit you can find on the internet. Variations of the Pepe meme were created as reaction emojis for various emotions like sad frog, smug frog, angry Pepe, and so on. In 2015, users began creating a variation of smug Pepe as Donald Trump, which Trump eventually retweeted. The media latched on to Pepe the Frog as a popular white nationalist symbol because of the use of smug Pepe as Trump and the circulation of the Pepe meme generally amongst alt-right groups online, even though the Pepe meme and its variations had been around for years and Pepe the Frog wasn't inherently exclusively used online by far-right communities. But this created a fervor around the use of the meme generally to where it became a far-right symbol because no one wanted to use it anymore for fear of getting called out and canceled. The mainstream media was roundly mocked on internet forums for being out of touch and unaware of the Pepe the Frog lore. During this time,
I was one of them. I thought it was a purely Nazi thing, and I was like telling people, "Quit using that frog," and I didn't realize that. Yeah, the artists themselves, the original maker of the frog, didn't care for their shenanigans.
a variation of Pepe the Frog was created, wherein Pepe is very obese, has his hands folded under his chin, and is giving you a smug little smirk. According to KnowYourMeme.com, the earliest known variation of this version of Pepe appeared on 4chan in 2016. It's unknown when that variation was given the name Groyper and what the word Groyper actually means. The hypotheses that I could find included that it is a combination of goy, meaning a non-Jewish person, and griper, someone who complains. Could be a weird alteration of the word groper, or it could mean absolutely nothing at all, which
I do think Groyper just means complainer. If you have a gripe with something, you have a complaint with something. Dominico, man, and Trump declared Antifa a terrorist group. He can declare whatever he wants. It doesn't mean that they will be recognized by law enforcement as such. And even if they were, I don't care. There's right and there's wrong. I will not let a government tell me what I can and cannot say. I certainly will not let a government tell me what my political opinions are allowed to be. I am anti-fascist, proudly so, and there is, and get this motherfucker off the stage for a second, and there is no way on God's green earth I'm going to let a useless creature like Donald Trump or any Republican currently in office have an effect on what speech I choose to use. So again, let me just say it crystal clear. My name is Jake Tregellis. I am Antifa, and anyone with a soul ought to be as well. Americans are Antifa because Americans do not care for fascists, and Antifa is literally just a shortening of the phrase anti-fascist. You're damn right I'm one. Back to it.
most things in internet subcultures tend to do. The term Groyper was first used separate from the Pepe drawing in a 4chan board called R9K in 2015. That board is dedicated to anonymous sharing of personal anecdotes of social awkwardness, especially used by boys and men with active disdain for other men with active social, professional, and sexual lives. Many of the
I hope they do target me. Aside from the fact that there would literally be nothing better for my channel than to get heat from bad people. Good. I'll give them some gristle to chew on. But I'll tell you what, it'll be a hell of a lot easier if everybody claims to be Antifa. I am Spartacus, this stuff. It's just used as a political weapon. Yeah, I hope they do. I hope they do, because inevitably you will have to say, what is it? What does Antifa mean? What is that? Oh, anti-fascist. Well, it's simply It's not a political organization. It's just anybody that's against fascism can be described as Antifa. Well, what does that make you, person who hates it? Yeah, I look forward to that argument. I want to have that argument. I think that's an illustrative argument that we should be having.
Discussions surrounded relationships or lack thereof with women. And despite their grievances, they took pride in their position, lobbing hate at so-called normies who don't understand their culture and calling for a beta uprising. So the origin of Groyper may be incel inspired. By 2019, as Pepe the Frog became increasingly associated with the far right, so too did the Groyper, with many users ascribing to far right ideologies using the Groyper as their social media profile photo. Groyper became the symbol of the so-called Groyper Army, a subset of the super alt-right or new right that spewed white nationalist, neo-Nazi hate concerned primarily with preserving the white race. Groyper Army hecklers began showing up IRL at conservative speaker events, basically staging a live trolling of people like Ben Shapiro and Donald Trump Jr., taking issue with the Republican Party's acceptance of LGBTQ speakers, for example, or Ben Shapiro because he's Jewish. To the Groyper Army, the far-right Republicans weren't far-right enough, and their de facto leader is Nick Fuentes, a far-right influencer who gained notoriety around 2020 when he was about 20 years old for things like praising Hitler. Charlie Kirk was a favorite target of the Groyper Army for not being conservative enough. For example, his support of Israel went against Groyper anti-Semitism. So you've got the Groyper Army fighting against other far-right conservatives for not being far-right enough. But another key to understanding the ideology behind the Groyper Army is in more internet speak, of course, which is the idea of being red-pilled versus black-pilled. This refers to the Matrix movie wherein the protagonist is asked to choose between taking two pills, one of which will show him the true nature of the world and of society. And to incels and other radicalized people on the internet, being red-pilled means the wool has been pulled back from their eyes and they see what's really going on here. Whether it's the evils of feminism or the deep state, these mostly young boys have really figured it out.
Yeah, young boys are not doing great right
In the
now.
context
But in fairness, it's because their fathers are morons. So the deal here is that she's veering off topic, I feel a little bit. Yeah, we're getting a clear picture of who Groypers are, and there's some initial evidence that she linked from the shooter, alleged shooter, to the Groypers, and I believe it. But she's then going on to describe in much more detail what Groypers are, and this is not more evidence of who this person is. That's the thing to remind yourself. This is not, now we're just hearing about a group this person might have belonged to. And how much do they belong to the group? There was a guy in here named Dirk the other day. He was a right winger, and he said, "I've subscribed to you. I will I'll check back in on another video of yours." Maybe he will, maybe we'll never see him again. But if he gets into a car accident tonight and people look through his subscriptions, they're going to say, "Oh, he's a part of the Wicked community." Well, how much was he a part of the Wicked community? Not trying to hate on Dirk here. Actually, I'm looking forward to talking to the guy again. But I'm just saying, if this guy was a Groyper, if he occasionally engaged in this content, we're now talking about one person who their identity cannot be fully informed by what group they're a part of, nor can the identity of the group they're a part of be fully formed by this one person's actions. The use here, the main use here, is that this guy might have been a right winger, for all we know. And it is the right wingers who are currently desperately trying to point the blame at others. And so the main use here is pointing out, look, we don't know. We just don't know. A lot of evidence to suggest he's a Groyper. A lot of the stuff on those bullets is the sort of thing that is common amongst Groyper culture. And what I would say to you, person that I am hypothetically talking to, is that I don't think either of us would claim this person's methods as something our group largely condones. And if that's the case, which I can't think of many a group here, except for maybe the 9 angle types, that would condone that behavior. So if that's the case, we have to acknowledge that some people just crack. Some people have points in their lives that are so low that they do things that at any other point in their life they would never consider doing. And we should acknowledge that as a society and prepare for it as a society so we don't get another Uvalde, so we don't get another Kent State University, so we don't get another Charlie Kirk, so we don't get another whatever the school was that got shot up while Charlie Kirk was getting killed. So that we don't get another attempted Trump assassination, so that we don't get another, you see where this is going. The list of horrors we have endured is lengthy. And we've done nothing to change anything since it began. In my adult life, I've been in the March for Our Lives. I've been in basically anything I could get in where walking down the street was supposed to send a message, but we have not actually done anything. We've just, various groups have tried to wash our hands of the responsibilities in 1,000 different ways. We haven't done anything. So hopefully this is an opportunity for us to talk to right-wingers who would normally vote against any sort of legislation that would put reasonable restrictions on firearm ownership, including requiring a license for certain types of firearms, banning the open carry or even the public carry of certain types of firearms, etc., etc. Hopefully, this will sway them. Hopefully, it'll be an opportunity for us to say, "Hey, now you've suffered. Apparently, you weren't suffering when you were hearing about all the kids dying, when you were hearing about Oxford or Uvalde, or I'm desperately sad that I can't remember the name of the school that got shot all to hell that preceded March for Our Lives. That's going to make me sad in its own special way. I don't want to look at the chat right now because I'm sure you guys are typing in the correct name, and I want to remember it on my own. But I can't. It's not here. It's not coming up. Can you imagine how sad that is? Classroom full of kids got killed. I can't even remember what the name of the school was. It was a Florida school, if that helps. It's where David Hogg went to school before his education got cut short with bullets. His childhood ended. He had to. He's dedicated his life to Sandy Hook. He's dedicated his life to preventing school shootings. Sandy Hook is what I was thinking of. Parkland. Point made, though, don't you think? We're going to keep enduring these horrors until we actually make some tangible changes. And here's an opportunity for us to talk to people. Now, right now, we saw the reaction to Charlie Kirk's shooting. We've learned here what a groyper is. Sure. We talked a little bit about how the left reacted, and I hinted about how the right reacted. Let's talk about that now. How did the right wing react? Well, they tried to turn it into a political event.
My condolences to you, sir. My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk.
Let's just real quick. Let's look at how the right wing leadership felt about this.
My condolences to you, sir. My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure. And I just see all the trucks. We just started, so it'll get done very nicely, and it'll be one of the best anywhere in the world, actually. Thank you very much.
How are you holding up after your friend died? Oh, I'm holding up great. My numbers are really good. Doing fantastic. My numbers off the charts. I'm very popular after that guy died. Then they had a memorial for him that had pyrotechnics, and Trump, after Erica Kirk gave a eulogy for her recently deceased husband, Trump joined her on stage and danced. Also, by the way, he tried to convince people that it was the left that did the shooting, when now we are seeing there's just no evidence of that. There's evidence against it. We don't have enough evidence to know what this guy was, but it definitely wasn't organized. So that's what Trump did. Maybe now is a chance to reflect on who this is. I think this is having an effect. I think there's a lot of the online folks we talk to are by default going to tell us that they don't think Trump has made any mistake here. And I think the more we ask them to confront this fact, the more they're going to dig down and force themselves not to think about it. I'm sure that's what will happen. So let's just provide them opportunities to wonder for themselves. Nothing wrong with sharing your opinion. I don't think Trump gives a fuck about Charlie Kirk. That'll ring true when you say that. I don't think Trump cares even slightly that Kirk died. He turned his memorial service into a political rally. I thought that was pretty selfish. I think Trump's a selfish dude, and he made it very clear that he was not mourning. Certainly, I think that's okay to say. But I do think we are going to keep having this conversation until we figure out how to have it correct. And I don't think Charlie Kirk deserves to be the reason we finally have this conversation the right way, in a way that gets through. But I don't care about deserve. If there's a chance that this death actually means something to the people we need to convince, then for fuck's sake, take it. Convince them. Not because you care about Charlie Kirk. There's nothing any of us can do for Charlie Kirk. It's done. But because you care for the next classroom full of kids. Because you care for the next bunch of concert goers, church goers, grocery store shoppers that will get gunned down if we continue to allow high-powered weapons of war to just float around this huge-ass country. It's not cowboy times. And I hate to tell you, folks that idolize guns, you're not cowboys. And if it were cowboy times, you would be one of those people that jumps into a barrel when the shooting starts. Because that's who most people are. And I haven't seen anybody that wishes it was cowboy times who I thought would actually survive cowboy times. A lot of folks wish for hardship because they have never truly experienced it. And they do not know what they are wishing for. all of Republicans to me feel like a rich girl on a backpacking trip across Europe for the first time on their own. When they describe what their plans are for dealing with things and what they think the issues will be when it comes to fulfilling their plans. They just really haven't got a taste of the world yet. And they work very hard to make sure they never have to experience it without safety catches in place, safeties in place. Oh, they always do. Every time there's a mass shooting, fun fact, gun sales spike. And the type of gun used by the shooter specifically spikes. It's always been true. I could have told you that without you telling me. This is a rare case where I just assumed and I was correct. Yeah, gun sales always rise following a mass shooting. But that doesn't mean we can't change minds. You also have a lot of those gun sales were by people who were panicking. I mean, sure, there's people that were buying them just because every time this happens, it goes around that, oh, now they're going to ban guns. I think secretly everybody thinks, well, they got to ban these things, so I got to get one before they get banned. But it doesn't mean that they're going to be unswayable just because they did the same old gross thing that they always do. Bought yet another killer's gun. Eventually, they are, after they've come, they're going to come to their senses. And I assume every time they get a gun, it's the only time they can climax. After that happens, they'll have a moment of clarity, just a few moments where they can think about things. And maybe they'll catch a glimpse of themselves in the mirror and feel shame for the first time in their lives. And hopefully, you said something recently which they'll remember at that time. And then they will do something with their lives that is of value. That's my hope. Legend of Sean, no one learns. You can have 1,000,000 guns. Doesn't protect you from an ambush. Yeah. I mean, I would say we moved past the conversations around Uvalde too quickly. We really did. In Uvalde, we had the perfect counter example to what we have been told the solution is by right-wingers, by conservatives. They have said, well, how do you stop a bad guy with a gun? Good guy with a gun. Now, a progressive does tend to point out, you don't know there's a bad guy with a gun in a nation where everybody's allowed to have a gun. You don't know who the bad guy with the gun is until they've already shot somebody, you see. But no, they said, still, the answer is lots of good guys with guns. And so what did we have in Uvalde? A troubled young man, I think might have been a kid themselves, but an older kid, shot up a classroom, took a bunch of hostages. Classroom got surrounded by cops. None of them went in. Kids died, bled to death. Well, the police were too afraid to go in. Why? Because the gun was too scary. They literally held parents back from running in to save their kids. One parent had to sneak past the police, sneak into the classroom, and pull her child out. She saved her child's life. Cops were afraid to go inside because they were outgunned. Yeah. Yeah, that's part of it, for sure. But they all had, every single officer had at least a pistol. If they really wanted to. If they really valued the lives of the children above their own, which they should. They could have bum rushed the door. All right, hell, 3 of us will run in. We got vests and shields. He's going to get 1 or 2 of us. But we'll shoot him. They could have done that, yeah. But they didn't. And now we know. Before that moment, you could earnestly say, we didn't know. We thought, they had pistols. They had shotguns. Maybe they didn't want to use the shotguns because of the kids behind the whatever, but they're already getting mowed down, blown to bits with an assault rifle, so hell. What do you mean don't do much against high-powered weapons? Are the high-powered weapons being controlled by robots? No. The high-powered weapon doesn't knock aside pistol bullets as it shoots out. Bang, over. My point is, the answer here is not give them more vicious armaments. That wasn't the problem. The problem wasn't that they couldn't do enough killing themselves. The problem was they were afraid to die. They were scared of the high power weapon the other guy had. They don't need higher power weapons, and it might not have mattered if all he had was a pistol. The point is, we now know. We now have proof. A good guy with a gun is not an answer to a bad guy with a gun. It's just a bunch of guns in a building. It's not a solution. So don't stop talking about Uvalde. Don't stop pointing out the fact that we are gambling with our children's lives every time we send them to school in this country. And we've made the decision to do that rather than scaling back any of our hobbies. This has nothing to do with home defense. This has nothing to do with defending against the government. This is just hobbyists. They were too scared to go to war. They wish they had. And now they want to play Rambo in the backyard. And to do that, they need to dump thousands of dollars into owning very Rambo-like guns and training for an event that, if it ever should come to pass, they will just run away from. It doesn't work. It's not a practical solution. Pinkerbell, in parentheses, the sounds of children screaming has been removed. Uvalde broke me, dude. It was like 3 days before summer break. Yeah. Yeah, we're not good people. The zombie apocalypse. Yeah, that's... I just had a very similar thought, buddy. We are on the same wavelength. There's nothing that we can say to future generations that will excuse our behavior. And it doesn't matter if you were not on the side of the bad guys for this. I suppose it matters a little bit. I take that back. But that just means we're less damned than others. There's no excuse for a society that allows its children to be killed. There's just no excuse. We're a failure as a society. Now we can become better. I argue we must, because there just isn't a choice. On the path we are walking, there is only doom. But even if we do become better, at some point, people are going to ask us, what is all this about that I'm reading? What are these school shootings that used to plague America? They went on for how long? What could you have done to stop it? Why didn't you stop it is more what they're going to ask. What did you do? Because whatever you did wasn't enough. And I want to know what not to be. Right now, that's really the only lessons we can offer for them, is what not to do. We can explain what we did and why it was useless. Hopefully, we will learn what to do. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. But there's a real easy start. Do not let anybody onto your ballot whatsoever, unless they have a specific plan for gun control in your area. So if they're running for the city council, they better have some reasonable gun restrictions. If they are running for a state seat, they better have some state level regulations they're going to offer. And if they are running for a Senate seat or a seat on the House of Representatives, you better be able to articulate what their gun reforms are, because it is not acceptable for us not to have a plan in 2025. I am almost 40. This has been happening since I was a boy. There has been plenty of time to deal with it. And we are the only country in the world where this happens with any sort of regularity. David Martin Graff. Hard to understand why painful things like this happen. It's all part of a process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking chance and expanding man's horizon. Future belongs to the brave. Well, it's not hard to understand why school shootings happen. We understand why school shootings happen. We have the same broken people as every other society on earth. But in our society, in addition to having people who have mental breaks, we also have guns fucking everywhere. We have very little regulation on the storage of guns. We have very little regulation on the sale of guns. We have almost no regulations regarding licensing around guns, as in requiring a license to own certain kinds of guns. In short, we have very little regulation for powerful tools of warfare. And in a society of 333 million people, when somebody has a mental break where they are willing to do violence, their ability to do violence is multiplied many, many, many times by the force multiplier that is an assault rifle. So it's not hard to understand why these things happen. These things happen because there is the ability for them to happen. And the future does belong to the brave, but you don't need to sacrifice children to be brave. Certainly, you need to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations to consider yourself brave. And you need to be willing to face change to consider yourself brave. But allowing children to die so that you don't have to have a disagreement with your neighbor, that's not brave. That's lazy. Nadia Yvette Chambers, I fled the country. Congratulations. I mean, I'm sorry that you're not in the country, but I know you were not comfortable here, and rightly so. And I am delighted that you found the means to do it. Good for you. Yeah, I've got follow-up questions, but not for broadcast. But good for you, man. I hope you're somewhere where they speak. I was trying to make a joke about Canadian breakfasts. Breakfasts? It failed. Anyway, congratulations. And I'm deeply sorry that that it was necessary in the first place. We will try to fix it to try to get you to come back. All these lax gun laws, says Groove Dragon, are reasons to increase equity in our society and child abuse and bully culture. I agree with all those things. Sure, we should do those regardless of the gun laws. The gun laws are an embarrassment just all on their own. We have a willful ignorance of technology advancing, and what was considered arms back when the right to bear them was established in the Constitution were very different than what are considered arms today. What we think of, even the humble semi-automatic pistol, is a technological advancement, an advancement in killing ability, leagues ahead of a musket. And I have not even yet pointed out that, frankly, I'm not sure that the Second Amendment means what it has been interpreted to mean. I disagree, frankly, with what it is. Take care, Foxy. What about Canadian breakfasts? Yeah, I love Canada. Fucking is real good at breakfast, man. They're like, I feel it's between us, Canada, England, and Ireland for best breakfasts. Breakfast. God damn it! Breakfast foods are best foods. Yes. Everyone would do themselves a great service to learn more from Dr. James Gilligan. He is on YouTube and he has written about 20 books on the subject of violence. Well, all right. Folks, if you want to do what in the world some people call a mitzvah, a good deed, go up to that link right here. Or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment and donate a couple of bucks to the GoFundMe for David, a founding producer of this space. Let's not oh, my friend. I'm going to provide that. Let's not bum him out too much. But basically he's going through a family tragedy and he needs money. I don't want to go into deep detail, but his mother is passing and it's not cheap to die in America. Don't make him think about money in this moment. He's got a hard enough life right now. Even if he had all the money in the world, it would be a hard enough life. Don't, on top of everything, make him wonder, what am I going to do with her after she passes? That's a nightmare. Oh my gosh, David Martin Graff. The school I went to in New York in 3rd grade, 1982, 1983, we had an effective drill hide under our desks in the event of a Soviet nuclear sub-attack, launching a nuclear torpedo at us. Wild. We've lived through, dude. Tinkerbell, bruh, England? Beans on toast ass England? Yes. They know what they're about with breakfast. It's I didn't try the beans on toast until I was in Ireland, and oh my mercy, I would highly recommend. They do breakfast with the same zeal that we do. They like more meaty flavors, more that umami type thing. We like we tend to like sweet and salty, and they like very strong veggie flavors. But it is good. And they don't skimp on the fat either. It's the kind of thing where you're dipping the toast in the beans and sopping it up, trying to get as much as you can. Folks, I thank you. I hope you'll consider contributing to the GoFundMe, if only so that the Wicked community is not embarrassed by not actually contributing anything. Donald James asks, Donald James X asks, I gotta end this stream because my mouth is getting, these cheeks, these big fat cheeks are not easy to control. But which country was it that uses waffles as hot dog buns? The correct answer is the country I'm headed to next. You kidding me? Waffles as hot dog buns. That sounds de-freaking-licious. Good Lord. Nadia, you have had it rough. At the point of the Uvalde shooting, I was in a housing facility for the long-term homeless. I mean, in a nutshell right there, in one day, you were experiencing basically most of what's wrong with America all at once. Just a brutal place. I'm going to try to make this country good enough to make you want to come back here, my friend. Because I like you, and I don't like a lot of the folks that are making America the way it is. Gang, please consider donating to the linked GoFundMe. Legend of Sean, thank you for joining. Nadia Yvette Chambers, thank you. Donald James X, thank you, my friend. It's always good to see you. Pinkerbell, Wicked Foxy Dragon, Groove Dragon, the whole gang. Where's David Martin Van Graff? Well, David Martin Graff is, I always say Van Graff. David Martin Graff as well. Thank you for joining me. I am this time going to end it properly with Donald James X.